Hola y bienvenidos. Hello and welcome. I'm Amanda Bossard, an anchor and reporter for News 12 The Bronx and News 12 Brooklyn, and also a pleasure to be the moderator for today's Small Business Talks for Small Business presented by Optimum and Suddenlink Business. Our Small Talks virtual series is designed to provide educational and informative topics of interest and benefit to our small business customers throughout our entire footprint. And this Hispanic Heritage Month, we are focused on supporting Hispanic-owned small businesses throughout the communities we serve. And as a proud Cuban American, I am honored to facilitate this important conversation today. Our roundtable discussion will focus on how to access financing to grow your business. So important now more than ever. Prior to the pandemic, Hispanic small businesses were experiencing double-digit business growth, exceeding the growth of other small businesses. Let that sink in for just a second. However, access to financing has been a key challenge for Hispanic small businesses, even with similar profitability and credit worthiness as other businesses. And this was exacerbated during the pandemic, which more negatively impacted Hispanic small businesses. So with us today for this important conversation, we have three Hispanic entrepreneurs and business advisors who will be sharing their knowledge and experience on improving access to financing, as well as ways to prepare for a return to growth, which is something we are all so much looking forward to. So it is my pleasure to introduce each of them now. And we begin with Andrea Giraldo, an entrepreneur, a certified small business advisor, and board member of the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Andrea, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Of course. And next, joining us, we have Frank Fuentes, an entrepreneur as well, also the chairman of the U.S. Hispanic Contractors Association. Frank, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, as is ours. And rounding out our roundtable panel is Lisbeth Rodriguez, a certified small business advisor and also the director of Small Business Transportation and Resource Center at CUNY's LaGuardia Community College. Lisbeth, thank you for also being here.
Thank you for having us, and buenas tardes, everybody, too.
Absolutely. And a reminder that our Q&A chat will be open throughout this discussion, so you can feel free to leave your questions there, and our panelists are going to get a chance to answer them in just a little bit. But I want to dive right into the discussion right now. We were talking about some of those disparities in access to capital just in the opening remarks, especially now. Andrea, I'm going to begin the questions with you because I know that at the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, you are interacting with a variety of Latino-owned businesses and a variety of verticals throughout New York City. What do you think and why do you think Latino small businesses have less access to capital despite having those similar levels of profitability and credit worthiness? Why is this the case for Latino business owners?
Yes, thank you, Amanda. And you are correct with what is the stat you gave at the beginning in the growth of the Hispanic-owned businesses. But it's also important to point out that Latino-owned businesses have netted on average about 12% more within their businesses over non-Hispanic owned businesses. So that's an important number for what we're about to discuss today. So at times, what happens with Latinos is that they might not feel that they're bankable, but yet at this point, there is a disconnect within the banks or the financial industry, I should say, including the CDFIs, which are the community development financial institutions, and the small business community. What happens is that the disconnect comes from when we discuss about Hispanic businesses. And we've noticed at the Chamber that these institutions at times may not necessarily always properly communicate with our members, meaning that they're not getting them in time fully prepared to understand and comprehend what is needed within the various documents that they need to prepare, that they are financially ready with financial statements or even record keeping for that matter. So when the time comes of need and they go to the bank, they become less bankable. So no one has informed them from day one when they first approach their bank how they should prepare for the future when their growth stage hits them.
An important point there. And when we talk about that disconnect, Frank, do your members in contracting and construction face similar or different challenges to what Andrea was just describing?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I'm very honored, very, very privileged to be here. The answer is yes. So the construction industry is very unique, very different than other industries. We're very cash flow intensive industry. And I think when it comes to banking, numbers are numbers are numbers are numbers. But the one thing we cannot forget is that relationships count for a whole lot. We always tell our members, get to know everybody and anybody that's in the bank, whether it's the teller, whether it's the branch manager, but more specifically the bank presidents, because a lot of times it is that relationship that can get you into that goal, over the goal line, and obtaining that, in our case, lines of credit. We always look for lines of credit specifically for payroll. Like I said, construction industry, very intensive, very labor intensive. Therefore, we do need those lines of credit so that we can sustain those projects that we go after. We have other issues that probably are different from other industries. We have to also obtain lines of bonding, which is very similar to lines of lines of credit, but more specifically, more detailed, more collateral oriented. And so it's just a tough industry that we're in, and so we rely a lot on the profitability of a project to then move forward to other projects, which is tough. It's a tough way to grow your business.
Absolutely. And a key point you made in networking being so important, something that we're going to dive a little deeper into in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for more on that conversation. But Lisbeth, I want to get your take on this. Obviously, you are very focused right now on the transportation sector. Do you see the same challenges or anything different there?
Well, thank you again. It's an honor to be part of the event. Shared the experience with Andrea and Frank, and with the whole team and Altis just to put this event together. So I'm gonna be the third yes. I mean, following Andrea and Frank about all those challenges, particularly access to capital is a challenge for all minority-owned businesses, and Hispanic business owners are not an exception. So it's not like to say there's a one-size-fits-all answer to this. But in transportation and construction, when businesses are looking to get opportunities or looking funding options for transportation projects, it's a challenge. So it's really very important to have all that documentations to be prepared for that. So I just making an echo about what Andrea is saying, that financial literacy is so important, it's a key. And I think that is very important to prepare our clients and to let them know what they need to have ready. And also is how the business can be ready and stay ready to be bankable. Is just to make some examples, just the lack of understanding of the importance of a good accounting system, keep good credit scores, and just a business plan or the story about the business, that you can share that information with your bank. So I've seen that in the transportation sector when they're looking to put together and all the information when they're pursuing for that project or contract opportunity. And also I want to add in terms of the challenges when you are working in the transportation sector and also in construction, but any type of project in procurement is not only related with your financials, but also it's important, everything about certifications, permits, all that information that it has to be in place. So when we have to put everything together to go and ask for to present your proposal, your loan proposal to the bank, is they're gonna ask for more than only your financial. They want to see the story about your business as well.
You know, obviously every area has different struggles, but I'm also hearing a lot of similarities in terms of being prepared, having your documents ready, and that allowing you to be more bankable when we head and try to access that funding. Frank, we talked about a 2020 report from the Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative. This was over at Stanford's Graduate School of Business, other studies too, and they've shown that Latino small businesses are actually more likely to fund growth through company profits, like you mentioned, personal loans, loans from family as well, because they have lower approval ratings on business loans. Does this ring true to your members in construction and contracting? And what advice do you offer them when those personal savings and the loans are just not an option?
Oh, absolutely. It rings loudly. And the reason is because our culture, especially in our industry, construction industry, we're not getting to really know who our bankers are. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this program, relationships are ultimate. They are so incredibly important. They need to be able to know that you are not only bankable, but responsible, and you will do anything to be able to take care of that line of credit. Or in the case that Elizabeth was talking about, whether it's permitting and whatnot, that's development, that's a different type of loan. But if you're going to do, it's kind of like a mortgage loan, but very different in the sense that you have to be able to take care of that. You have to service that loan in the interim while you're not receiving any income. So you got to show all those things that you're able to do those things. Construction is very unique in that you have industries within the industries. In the sense of what Lisbeth was talking about, you have development, it's where you borrow money and you have to service that loan while maintaining the project ongoing. And it's very difficult. You have to have deep pockets, if you will. You have to be really financially strong to be able to do something like that. Or if it's just straight construction, where you're a general contractor or a subcontractor, and you're just trying to finish that project. What is it that you're doing? What is it that your plan shows that you're doing? And every day you have to maintain knowledge in terms of where you're at. There is a coefficient that bankers look in any kind of loan: liability versus receivables. How much do you owe? How much is going out and how much is coming in? That you have to keep very well balanced. If one is greater than the other, something's off. Definitely, if your liability is greater than your receivable, then definitely something's off. They're not going to give you that loan. So those are the things that you have to always weigh. Those are the things that you always have to look at.
So the topic that seems to come back to play as we continue to evolve this discussion is just that preparedness and being ready when you go seek that access to the funding. Lisbeth, I know that you obviously have years of counseling a variety of small businesses. Right now, you're focusing on work in the transportation space. As we mentioned, we keep on talking about this idea of bankability and the disconnect there. And I know you elaborated a little bit on that before, but what do you see in the transportation space right now as some of the biggest challenges, even beyond that, for accessing loans and just other sources of funding too?
Because I've been working with a small businesses since it's a startup and now with special projects, and I've just seen them just growing and moving forward to procurement opportunities. One of the key challenges, and I think that is really very important, is education and just to be prepared. The lack of financial literacy that we mentioned earlier is really very important, just to help our small business to be involved and to understand that process. I think that during the process, also in transportation, when they have the project, they are in front of them. And I can mention just one example. Right now, I'm working with this company. It's a maritime transportation service. And this client is already get a $500,000 contract with New York. And when I sit down with the client and they talk about, the whole picture about business, and because he's looking to get some funding options, now is when we say, hey, I don't have all the information ready. So preparedness, when you get that opportunity that is there, is knocking your door, right? That opportunity is there, and then you don't want to miss that opportunity. So it is important. I will say say 4 points, maybe. Preparedness, especially when there is far turnaround, when you get that new contract, that new opportunity. So be ready, stay ready is important. To have all that documentation ready there. I used to use some checklist that can help me to see in which position is the business to take opportunity of those projects. So that can help me to see where they are. And I just noted that documentation not necessarily is all there. So that's one. And I also can say in transportation that if you have your support system, that's my second point that I always recommend to all my businesses when getting these contracting opportunities. If you have a strong accounting system that can support, as Frank mentioned, that can support the story of your business, your experience working in those specific projects, that you know your numbers, because you're gonna sit down with a traditional bank or a CDS5 bank, and they want to know that you know your business, that you not only know how the technical aspect of your business, but also the financial aspect of your business is really very important. And also when you say, yes, I got a contract and I need to get some option, I need to get X amount of money. It's not to come with say, how much money you think that I should need to, for this project. You should go to the bank and explain exactly how much money you need. So that's part of the source of funds that you're gonna explain to the bank why you need that. And also to evaluate your business, evaluate your operations and your financials, and just be sure that you know the capacity to pay back that loan. So it's very important that you can see. So cash flows is critical in project, in transportation, in construction, and procurement, so they can see that you can manage the project and manage all the finances. And also, I just mentioned another one in terms of support system. I can go to other areas, but the other panel already covered that one, is the business plan, your executive summary. A capability statement is like a resume about your business, where you basically share all the information of who you are, what you can do, and how you can provide the service that you are offering for that. So it's a combination, not only on your financial, but the story behind that. And of course, certification, permits, and Frank was mentioning about everything about the contracting opportunities. So bonding is one of the components for construction and transportation, just that your business is bond ready for those projects. I'm more than happy to share later about what is bonding about, but it's one of the components that in transportation we take in consideration, and we help and guide our clients to be ready when they're looking for those options of fundings.
Lisbeth, that was a great roadmap of what is needed if you're going and getting ready to prepare to approach a bank to get that funding. So thank you for that breakdown. We've talked a lot about preparing to get to the bank. I also want to talk about some of the alternative funding sources that are available right now. Andrea, we know that right now the PPP, SBA loans, they're being offered to help small businesses in light of the pandemic and the impacts that has had on small businesses far and wide. But reports also showed that many Latino small businesses were not able to benefit from these. So what alternative sources are you advising your members to consider, and what do our viewers right now need to know about accessing those?
Yeah, so you are correct, Amanda. Sadly, many were left out of the PPP, which was the Paycheck Protection Program. At the Chamber, we were able to help all the members that contacted us through our partners. We have several partners from Chase, TD Bank, Ponce Bank, who's a CDFI. Well, they immediately caught on to the lack of the Hispanic business owners as they were lagging behind accessing these PPP funds. So as soon as that was brought to their attention, they, for example, created a proper channel within Ponce to assist these entrepreneurs in securing their PPP funding. So one important issue that was brought forth was that when English is your second language, for you to reach out to any 1-800 number, customer service number, can be very intimidating. It can be a scary thought. And if you add on to that, the lack of understanding of the business jargon when dealing with an application or through a lending process, anyone, regardless if they're Hispanic or not, can shy away. So for us, that was a big thing that we saw and that we counted with a partner that was able to, step up to the plate and provide the hand-holding during this process. So that was very rewarding for us. Aside from the various resources during COVID, there are other types of funding. There are things that are called community block grants. So these are managed through local municipalities, local entities that assist through grants startups or existing businesses in improvements or expansion or hiring of new personnel. Those are very important. What is true for many Hispanics, I believe Frank mentioned it at the beginning, is the idea of bootstrapping a business, working with what they have, including in many times when they reach out to their own family members to be part of the business or provide financial assistance as the business grows, the family has chipped in. And there are also important also for people to know and understand is that within business lending, we have to separate startup business versus existing business because it's completely two different processes, and not all banks and not all CDFIs will take one or the other or both, sadly, at sometimes. There are banks that are not interested in providing startup funding. So, and as I said, they all require different financial information, different documentation. Both will require at times, depending on the loan amount, they will be seeking collateral, cosigner, financial stability, down payment. You cannot finance 100% of a project. That is actually quite challenging unless you already have the money in the bank to guarantee it. So it's kind of very very difficult if you're seeking a loan of $200,000 and you have to guarantee it with another 200 at the bank, where it really doesn't make sense. So people need to understand and prepare that even if you're at XYZ bank, they may not be the right bank to fund you in the future. But what is important for all entrepreneurs, and this is something I cannot stress out enough, is that start that banking relationship from day one. Go to the bank, open your business bank account. Forget about the personal. Focus on your business bank account, because in the long term, you need to have established that relationship, and the bank will look at your business worthiness, similar to your personal credit worthiness, that everyone is, always checking. My credit score went up, went down, it was affected, whatnot. Well, the same goes for the business and needs to be treated as such. So it's very important for you to begin with your business account from day one.
When we talk about having that business bank account prepared and ready for this, which I think has been the theme of this conversation, you can't be too prepared when you're trying to seek that funding. Frank, what can Latino small businesses do to improve that access and be better prepared? Maybe a checklist of things they need to know when they're getting ready to approach the bank.
I'll respond to that question, but let me just say one thing real quick.
Please.
Congratulations to the Latina-owned businesses that have survived this pandemic. Number one, many of them have been deemed essential, and they've been in the front line of this apocalyptic business scenario that we've never seen in our lifetime. One. Number two, with regards to the PPP, that was a very competitive process. And if the bank that you're used to dealing with, the bank that you have your accounts with, weren't SBA banks, you were at a great disadvantage. We in Texas have an incredible SBA department in San Antonio, Texas, and they were able to really help not only the banks that weren't prepared with SBA, but those that were. And so a lot of our folks within our organization were able to get the PPP, but it was after some very hard argumentative at times discussions, not only with the banks, but with SBA, and we were able to force some of these things through. But very competitive. The bigger company that you were, the more relationships that you had, you definitely were going to get that PPP loan. So that aside, I believe can you repeat your question?
No, and I'm glad that you said that.
I
Because it
just
also
want to make sure I
speaks
respond
to
to your question. Yeah.
Of course, but what Andrea was saying too about, needing to have someone who can advocate on your behalf. So the fact that all of your organizations are doing that for our Latino business owners and being able to help them secure that is super important. So I thank you for all the work that you are all doing in the background to help.
Thank you very much. No, at the very beginning, if I can take us back to March of last year, when the nightmare began, right? We were on the phone with not only Washington, we were on the phone with DC, we were on the phone with whomever would listen to us, because they were shutting down many industries. In Texas, they even shut down construction. I believe in New York City, Andrea, construction was shut down. In fact, most all businesses were shut down. If you can just imagine, I remember I was telling you about that coefficient that bankers look at, liability versus revenue, and there was no revenue coming in. So we advocated very strongly for our industry to move forward. But as a result, we also needed to advocate for their banking opportunities to continue to be open. So it was quite challenging. But as Latinos, we don't take no for an answer. We just keep moving forward, and that's what we did. So you just have to be tenacious. Don't take no for an answer. And one bank might not be. I think Elizabeth, you mentioned about not all banks are suitable for you. If you go for those big commercial banks, that might not be suitable for you, because you can't gain that relationship with the head guy. If you go with the smaller banks, you probably will, and they're probably better for you. That's what I typically recommend to our membership. Go to that bank where you can go in there and they can grow the business. You can grow the business together. That's what I recommend to our folks. There's nothing like a good relationship.
Absolutely.
I would like to add to the front point that in terms of the challenges when we looking for those fundings for a startup, as Andrea mentioned, and also if you are existing business 2, 3, 4, 10 years in business, the banks, there's the traditional bank. And when you are in construction, there's some higher risk in the type of project that you're working with. So sometimes you can identify that you can see if your business should be through a traditional bank or through the CDS5 that we're talking about them, community development financial institutions. Those institutions, those funding can help and can be more flexible in some areas when you're looking for funding to support your project or to get financing. So those two it's important to include it in your support system, people that can help you and identify which bank or which one you can approach to look for the loan. So I think that is an alternative for now for small businesses to get the CDS5 as well. But it would depend on your project. But CDS5s and traditional bank are there. So it's just to evaluate which one is the best based on your project.
Mm-hmm. And to piggyback on what Frank and Lisbeth just said, I usually tell clients, and our members, is that when you're looking to begin a relationship with a bank, think of it as, you're hiring another lawyer or another accountant. You don't just open the phone book and pick a bank. No, you need to make a list of what's important to you, where your business is currently at, and where you see it going. And that's how you determine that the bank is right for you, because not all are the same fit. Like buying shoes, one may be more comfortable than the other, one are more appropriate for certain times than others. We know of banks that have no interest in restaurants, because it's a lot of inventory and rotation and becomes quite complex. And there are banks that are not interested in construction, or they may be interested in construction. So you really have to do your due diligence, do your homework, research, and see what is a good fit for your business.
Absolutely. So when we go ahead, Frank.
I'll try to be really quick, but a light bulb turned on my head.
So please share. We need that light bulb moment.
I appreciate that. One of the things that we've done in Texas, in Austin specifically, is collateral is very important. We've managed to create a program in our city that allows for our cities to create a collateral pool, if you will. I don't want to call it a risk pool because risk has got such negative connotations, but a collateral pool where small businesses can go and use a small portion of that pool for collateral. Once the debt is paid, they put it back into rotation. Something that perhaps Andrea and Lisbeth, in your communities, you can maybe advocate for. The way it's paid for in our community is through ROSIPs and NOSIPs. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with those insurance terms, but it's where the government themselves purchase the insurance, builder's risk, workman's comp, so forth, and there is savings, and it is that savings that funds that risk pool or that collateral pool. I hope that makes sense. It's working for us. There's so many different types of loans for the development side, and we all need development, right? Because that's how you build new subdivisions for homes. You got to find a way to service that debt. They're going to look for cash. Can you service that debt until you start creating your revenue? Really difficult to do, but it can be done. In the construction, if you're a straight contractor, they're just going to look for collateral in case you fail on that contract. What are they going to go after? So you just have to be able to sustain both.
Yeah. No, please spread the wealth and spread the ideas here so we can all leave here with more knowledge and a little inspired. I want to just real quick, before we move on, because preparedness has been such a theme of this discussion, just run down the checklist. We're talking about finding the right bank, making sure that your business bank account is prepared, having the right people by your side, advocates, accountants, surrounding yourself with the support, Lisbeth, that you've been referencing. Real quick, anybody have anything else to add to that checklist? I'm going to just start with Frank and real quick, a few bullet points, if any, to add to that checklist of being prepared when you're going to seek that funding.
Yeah, pick on the little guy, why don't you?
No, we want you to spread the wealth here, spread the knowledge.
No, I think not only should you really be prepared for the first initial meeting with the bank, you should always be prepared. You should always know where you're at with your company. I mean, that's what management's about. You can be a great technician, whether you're laying brick or whether you're pouring concrete, but that's only about 5% of your business. The other 95% is managing your business. Otherwise, you're a worker, not a business person. So always be prepared to answer any questions at any given time, any given day. That coefficient that I mentioned at the onset of this what do we call it, this event discussion is so important. Revenue versus liability. What is it? Know all your liability and know all the revenue that's coming in. It is so incredibly important. And at any given time, know where you're at with that coefficient.
Great advice. Lisbeth, anything to add?
I just want to mention, and sometimes I ask my clients if when they're putting everything together, preparedness is a key, and be ready is a key, because you never know when that opportunity is in front of you. But sometimes it's, are you managing your business or your business is managing you? So I think that we have to think about it. Are you managing your business? Because you know what you have. So the numbers, information there, just to have clear your business objectives, your goals, and just see those numbers, how it's reflecting those objectives. So it's part of that checklist. So I always ask me as a marketing person with working with different small businesses and now with procurement opportunities is what is your goal? Who is your market? Who is your target? What do you want to achieve? And then how your numbers say that about you. So it's just to see your business in the two sides, in the front and in the back end. Those are the numbers.
Great advice. Andrea, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, just, I always say that business owners are very skilled in their skill, right? But not necessarily the business world. So I would just suggest that, you should really secure and surround yourself a team of professionals that are out for your best interest, that they are vetted professionals, which is very important, people that you can trust, and that again, you will know that they will look after you and what is best for you and your business. So regardless if you don't know how to create a financial statement, a profit and loss, a cash flow, whatnot, find that person that will. And from day one, treasure your business and manage it for growth, not for immediate economic satisfaction or reward. You have to look beyond the first year and think of the future with your business. So if you take these steps from day one, most likely you're setting yourself up for success financially than not, and you will be ready.
Amazing advice from each of you that I hope all of those watching take into consideration, because this is really helpful stuff that we're discussing. I promise to dive a little bit deeper into networking, because I think right after preparedness, having those relationships has been another theme of this conversation. Lisbeth, I want to go back to that Stanford study that I referenced a little bit earlier in the conversation. It actually shows as well that Hispanic businesses that have strong networks in one's local community are up to twice as likely to experience that funding success. So again, that relationship between having a relationship and being able to secure that funding. Have you seen this with the companies that you advise?
Well, the businesses that have been successful receiving funding are those that have been taking advantage of those incredible free resources that we have out there. And that's part of the networking and a way to support small businesses community. And I think that Latino, we always looking for to connect and to know people that can support us. I think that is something beautiful from us, that we looking for those supports. And networking is one of the aspects that we should consider as a support system for us as well, when we're looking to build our business, grow our business, connect, as Andrea mentioned, just to bring to your team a good accountant that can help to grow their business. So just to interconnect and to identify those resources is part of the community. So right now there's a free and low cost resources that support small businesses. And for many of us nationally, I can mention SBA, for example, that basically they funded different other small business organizations, and that we have a Small Business Development Center, we have SCORE, we have a procurement technical assistance for contracting opportunities, and other organizations like Altis today that is putting this program together that can provide that access to community, that access to information to educate the Hispanic community. And also these organizations, counselors, for example, the Empire State Development Center in New York, that we can support small business. And also we also have access to do that match or to connect with different lenders, creating like a Meet the Lenders event. We can support giving some business management guidance, and also those type of, for example, procurement business forum that can help to connect the organization with different small business companies. So networking community is really very important when you start a business, to know who's your neighbor, who can help you to support you, and who can be your support system in terms of counseling and guidance. And also identifies, for example, some programs to enroll or engage with the excellent business educational program out there that can also support you and can be part of that community to help you to support and to grow your business as well. And for Hispanic, I mean, it's very interesting that I'm seeing, I've been participating in working with La Guardia Community College as a business services area, and I'm more than happy to share with you all that. But there's a lot of organizations right now that they have identified that our community, Hispanic, small businesses, they need support in their own language and in Spanish like alternative. So we can mention, for example, SBDC has OLE, ARP probably, ARP is also probably offering also some efforts. Hello Alice, there's a lot of resources out there that understand and they see the potential that and the resources that our Hispanic small business community needs. So they are there to support.
Amazing to hear that there are already so many networks available. It's just about taking the plunge, reaching out and getting connected. We have learned so much already over the course of this conversation, but I just want to open up the floor right now to each of you. I'll start with Andrea. What are the best sources of guidance that you give to your members and clients and Latino small business owners that you just encounter along the way?
Well, I may be a little biased with this answer right now, but I definitely do recommend the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as a great resource. But then again, there are many other smaller localized chambers. Chambers as ours, we are connectors. We are there to serve your business need. We're a hub of information. We host enormous quantities of networking events throughout the year. So that is a great starting point for what Lisbeth mentioned before in terms of getting to know other businesses, other business owners, people that are out there that are, behind small businesses that are there to help you and assist you in getting your feet off the ground or expanding your business.
Yeah. Great resource, and thank you for reminding us about it. Lisbeth, same question. What's the most important advice that you give to those business owners that you encounter?
I'm in echo with Andrea. All these organizations are there to support small businesses. I would say that SBA, for example, at the national level, can be a point of reference to, at the same time, refer us to the other organizations that can support and small businesses for a startup until business expansion. I mean, for example, SBDC and there's other organizations. And also I encourage to participate in like a trade associations, like the Chamber of Commerce, because they are reading what our market needs in terms of information. So they help just to put all that information together for different events and expos. And of course, in transportation, the SBTRC, the Small Business Transportation Resource Center, I'm leading the Northeast region, but we do have 11 centers across the nation. So when you're looking at opportunities in procurement, in contracting, in transportation, in our case, we are specialized in that area, but we work in collaboration with other organizations. And it is important in terms of networking, and I just want to share as well how we work at Queens area, New York. For example, our community college have identified small businesses since they just come with an idea with a startup business, and also, or they're looking to expand the business, or they already have identified new other opportunities to grow. And now with COVID, there was a lot of businesses that had to pivot their businesses, so they were looking for other alternatives. So our platform and at Business Services, we try just to support all the businesses. And we have a cluster that we call like a program, a cluster, a center that basically cover 5 areas. One is the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, is for startup businesses that start their business or looking to grow. Procurement, that is a procurement technical assistant, where I'm just another division as SBTRC, a Small Business Transportation Research Center funded by USDOT nationally. And then we have other 2 programs. It's a New York Designs. It's like an incubator where business can leave space. And then if you're looking to grow your business, to expand your business, you see an opportunity, we do have the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Initiative. So what we do is, and we recommend, is just to put everything together in an umbrella. So depending which stage your business is, you can find the resources to support you.
Another good list of resources to know about, Lisbeth. Thank you. And Frank, I'll wrap things up with you. What do your clients, the people that you interact with, need to keep in mind to best set them up for success?
Well, I agree with you. There's so many Latino organizations out there that help businesses. Here I'm sitting with two great individuals, two great organizations. We focus in the construction industry, the Hispanic Contractors Association, the construction and development industry. That's our focus. That's our expertise. I have to say we're very good at it. We have great relationships, not only with bankers, but also government entities, because permitting is everything. The one advice that I think I would give our good brothers and sisters out there looking at this this discussion is hire well. A good CFO, a good comptroller is worth their weight in gold. A good project manager, a good project superintendent, they're worth their weight in gold because they're able to move the project in a way that you're able to invoice and sustain or service those lines of credits the way you should. And that creates the history that bankers are looking for. Just hire well. You cannot do everything yourself. You are the owner, you are the manager, if you will, of the people that you have. You're as good as your people. So that's my advice to the folks that are in the construction industry. And I suspect that goes the same, that speaks the same for all businesses. If you are a good cook, you're a great chef, doesn't mean your restaurant's going to do well if you cannot manage it. So hire well. That's my advice.
Simple phrase, but important implications there. I like that, Frank. Easy to remember too for all.
I'm an easy guy.
Well, we appreciate you, Lisbeth, Andrea, all of you so much for being here today, for having this conversation, for sharing your insight and expertise. And I hope that all of you watching are walking away with just a better understanding of how to set yourself and your business up for success, because that's what we're here to do today. So I want to thank you, all of our panelists, and you all who are watching for joining us today. Of course, it's our hope that you found this information beneficial and that you have that better understanding on the avenues of funding that are available to you as a small business owner. A recording of this roundtable, along with other business resources, can be found over on our SMB Resource Hub. That can be found at optimum.com/business/resource hub and at suddenlinkbusiness.com/resource hub. Also, please let us know what you thought of today's discussion. There's a QR code right at the bottom of your screen there. You can scan that and give us your feedback on today's presentation. Have a great rest of the day and happy Hispanic Heritage Month to all.
Gracias. Chao. Chao, chao.
Encantada. Gusto a todos. Bye.